Last week, I posted a video, which is one of probably my most viewed posts on JewishMom.com ever. I posted a video called "What Your Child Sees When He Sees Mom," which has been viewed so far only on my site alone 28,097 times. Okay, so probably most of you have seen this video, but if not, I'm going to explain to you what it contains. So it's basically what they did is the people who made this little very short video. I think it's a 3-minute video. The video maker asked mothers how they would describe themselves as mothers. So basically, like, the mothers say things like, I wish I could be more patient. Another one says, yeah, I really wish I was more patient. Another one says, like, I wish I could really be with my child when I'm with him, and things like that. Sort of like, typical, mothers beating themselves up about how they're bad mothers. And then last year on Mother's Day, then they interviewed their children, those same mothers' children, about how they see their mothers, and the kids are just like, it's so sweet. The kids, like, one kid says, "My mother is the most beautiful woman in the world," and another girl just says like, "I love my mother so much. She's the best mother in the world." Another one says, "My mother's my best friend." So the question is like, why is this video so powerful for moms? It's very, very clear to us. It's very clear to us that this video was it's so wildly popular because we feel so guilty, because it's such a natural part of motherhood that we beat ourselves up, that we feel so guilty, and then watching this video and we see, like, well, actually our kids think that we're doing an okay job. For the most part, our kids think that we're doing, like, love us very, very much. So in dire contrast with how we actually feel about ourselves. So I want to talk a little bit today about how we can start feeling a bit less guilty. So the first thing I want to talk about is something I read this week in Bina. I love Bina magazine. I read it for me it is not Shabbos if I don't have my Bina magazine. So they had there's a question somebody sent in a question to I think to a psychotherapist from Los Angeles named Dr. Sarah Teichman. And she said, "My mother was a screamer, and I'm a big screamer. I'm always screaming at my kids, and what can I do about that?" So Dr. Teichman gives she gives this mother who's writing in, she gives her some practical advice about how to bring down the amount of screaming in her house. But then in the final thing, I think she has a very, very important note. Okay, she says, Dr. D.W. Winnicott, a British pediatrician and psychoanalyst, coined the expression "the good enough mother." Okay, remember that phrase, the good enough mother. What this phrase refers to is a mother who is not perfect. She's just good enough. Dr. Winnicott proposed that this good enough quality was necessary for the child's psychological growth and development because in an all-perfect world, a child would not face any challenges. There would be no need for him to develop any coping skills, and he would be naive and defenseless in the face of future challenge. However, because these little lapses in terms of parenting, in terms of imperfect mothering, these lapses force him to learn how to cope, and therefore growth ensues. Okay, so what this means is, okay, I just want to ask a question. Okay, are you an imperfect mother? Yeah. Am I an imperfect mother? Yeah. Did you have an imperfect mother? Yeah. Did I have an imperfect mother? Yeah. All of us, every mother is imperfect, but the truth is that the truly imperfect mother is the perfect mother, and the imperfect mother is the perfect mother. Get it? Because if a mother is always calm and always smiling and always accepting and never loses her temper and always, is always like this perfect, or how we view it, perfect, wonderful, mothering mother, then the child, what's going to happen when that child leaves our home? When the child leaves our home and meets an imperfect teacher, or a nasty clerk at the Department of Motor Vehicles, or like the bus driver, snaps at him, what's that child going to do? The child's going to be completely unprepared. But if that child has an imperfect mother, like you and like me, who does lose their temper and does sometimes yell and does sometimes whatever, then that child is actually prepared for the world. Okay, it's prepared to face this imperfect world that we live in. Okay, I think also, just like as a side point, I think that sometimes, I think if we look at our lives, then and we look at the ways that we were mothered, I think that in many cases, if we look back, then the way that we are mothering our children and living our lives is in reaction to the way that our mother was. Like sort of generations. I think that they go back and forth, between whatever, and in reaction to the way, in reaction to the way, into the way that we were raised. So in a way, so what a gift your mother gives you by being what we perceive as imperfect. Then it shapes who we are in the most wonderful possible ways. Okay, so what you're probably thinking is, but wait, does this just give me any mother free license to be abusive and just scream and hit and terrorize their children as much as they want? Well, great, the world is terrible and I'm just being a terrible mother to prepare to prepare my child for a terrible world. No, okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is how you make sure that you don't go there. Okay, that you really are a good enough mother. So this is something. It's like it's a very, very important thing that I learned from my teacher, Rabbi Aryeh Niven, of Rabbi Niven's personal development chaboras that I speak about all the time. I'm almost 4 years in the development chaboras, and it's amazing. I recommend it very, very highly. So Rabbi Niven talks about how important it is to establish criteria. Let's say that you're working on yourself, that there's one aspect of your personality that drives you crazy, okay? Or that you're really, really feeling very, very guilty about a certain aspect of your mothering, let's say. So let's say you think that you yell too much, that you're impatient, your house is a mess, lunch is never ready on time, whatever you're beating yourself up about, okay? So what Rabbi Niven says, which is this is so simple and so common sense, but it's something that almost nobody actually does, is to actually set criteria. Like when you say you yell too much, what would you have to do in order to actually feel satisfied with yourself? It has to be like a realistic expectation of yourself that you'd feel like, I'm making progress. Okay, so let's say maybe one mother will say, if I didn't yell more than 3 times, then in that case, then I would feel satisfied with myself that I didn't yell too much that day. Another mother might say, I usually do most of my yelling at bedtime. Okay, let's say between 6:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. So between 6:30 p.m. and 8 p.m., I am not going to yell. Okay, or maybe another mother says, she says, there's a certain child who drives her crazy. So she says, okay, I'm not going to yell at that specific child more than once today. Okay, and it might be. I'm not saying that this is like the ultimate, the ultimate perfect mother, which we already know is imperfect. The ultimate perfect mother maybe doesn't yell at all. I don't know. But just for yourself, what would be real progress for you, and a realistic goal for you? It's your criteria. So to know that you're not sliding away into some sort of abusive bad situation with your children where you're really, really not good enough. So in summary, so with Jewish moms, it's as though Jewish mothers, it's a stereotype that we make our kids feel guilty. But the truth is that as much as guilty as a stereotypical Jewish mother makes her kids feel guilty, she feels twice as guilty as that. And I think that all of us, it's just it seems as though it's a basic aspect of Jewish motherhood to feel guilty. Not only Jewish motherhood, I think motherhood to feel guilty. We feel guilty we're not doing good enough. So these are 2 things to keep in mind. Keep in mind that you are the good enough mother. When you lose your cool and when you are imperfect, the truth is you are being the perfect mother by preparing your child for an imperfect world. Really, it's true. And the second thing to keep in mind is criteria. Okay, if you want to work on yourself, instead of just beating yourself up I'm impatient, I yell too much, and everything's a mess, and I'm the worst, and I'm the worst, and I'm the worst. No, stop. Stop right there, Jewish mom. I'm not going to permit it any longer. What you're going to say is you're going to establish criteria for yourself. For example, you can say 2 criteria, 2 things you're going to do which are going to enable you to stop beating yourself up and think, today I really was a good enough mother. Okay? I want to bless all of you Jewish moms with an amazing, amazing week and an amazing month. It's Chodesh Kislev. Chodesh Tov.